I'm currently in the process of trying to review all the adaptations of The Wizard of Oz that I can find. So far, I reviewed one from 1910 and another from 1925. Feel free to check those out if you haven't already. The next version after that is the famous 1939 version starring Judy Garland. However, what is there to say about that movie that hasn't been said already? Well, for one, it's not all that faithful to L. Frank Baum's 1900 novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Granted, it's more faithful than both the previous adaptations, but that is not saying much. So instead of just reviewing it, which would mostly consist of me saying that the movie, while still great, isn't the perfect film I've seen it heralded as, we'll instead be looking at the top 10 differences between The Wizard of Oz book and movie. Number 10. The Emerald City. We all know the Emerald City, don't we? Yes, it's the city in the center of the Land of Oz where the wizard is. The movie depicts it as a cheerful city, and the book actually does as well. And many characters from the books, like the Guardian of the Gate and the Palace Soldier, called Ombi-Ambi in the books, are depicted well in this version. However, where the book and the movie differ is how the main characters view the city. In the film, Dorothy and her friends just walk into the city and are prepared to meet Oz. But in the book, Dorothy and the others are led to believe that the city's radiance can blind them and are given green spectacles, which are later revealed to perpetuate the illusion that everything is green at the wizard's request. There's not much more to say about this one, other than wondering where the hell that horse came from. Number 9. The relation between the witches of the East and West. One common piece of Oz mythos is that the two wicked witches in Oz are sisters, and has been a case in just about everything Oz related, even making the witches of the North and South related in some versions as well. However, this was solely invented by the 1939 version and was not in any previous version. There is no connection between the witches of the East and West in the book, implied or otherwise. The only connection in the books is that they, along with two other evil witches, teamed up to conquer Oz, and that's where it ends. In fact, the Wicked Witch of the West shows no reaction whatsoever regarding the death of the East Witch, and only wants her magic shoes because she knows how powerful they are. That and her powers were depleted by that point in the book. Number 8. The challenges along the way to the Emerald City. In the movie, the only significant challenge Dorothy and her friends had along the way to the Emerald City was the poppy field. While that was in the book, involvement of the Wicked Witch not included, there were many challenges before that, such as the Scarecrow falling in a river, the lion having to carry everyone over a pit, and one that I really wish was in the movie, the Kalidas. Now what are Kalidas, you might ask? They are monsters that are part tiger and part bear who give the gang trouble on their quest. Why would this have done well in the movie? Because it took the wits of just about everyone involved to get themselves out of danger. Hey, it beats Gwenda bailing everyone out. Number 7. The meeting with the wizard. In the film, Dorothy and friends meet Oz as a group and in the form of a giant head. While this was one of the forms he took in the book, that's where the similarities end. In the book, Oz saw one member of the group each day and used a different form. Those forms include the aforementioned head, along with a beautiful woman, a great beast, and a ball of fire. He is also way more direct in his wishes. His wishes in the movie was for Dorothy and her friends to bring him the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West, a thinly veiled way of telling them to kill her. However, in the book, he flat out told them to destroy the witch. That's something to say to a little girl. What a nice guy, Oz. There are more things pertaining to the wizard, such as his past, but that's a subject for its own video. Number 6. The Tin Man. This can really apply to all 3 of Dorothy's companions, but I'm only going to focus on the Tin Man since he has the most backstory out of all of them. We know little about the lion, and the extent of the Scarecrow's story is that he was made the day before Dorothy arrived in Oz. The Tin Woodman is another story since his story is actually rather involved, and he's essentially a cyborg. To make a long story short, he was once a Munchkin woodchopper named Nick Chopper who fell in love with a girl who was a slave of the Wicked Witch of the East. In her anger, she enchanted his axe to cut his body parts off, and the tinsmith replaced them with tin parts until he was all tin, losing his heart in the process and explaining why he wanted one. Number 5. Glinda. One of the biggest differences between the book and the movie is Glinda. Ever watch a movie and notice that there was a witch of the East, West, and North, and wonder if there was a witch to the South? The answer is yes. And going by that pattern, she must be a good witch, right? So, who is she? The answer is Glinda. Now I can hear some of you saying, but Glinda's the witch of the North. And she is. In the movie, that is. Allow me to explain. The movie Glinda is a conglomeration of 3 characters from the book. Those three characters are the elderly Good Witch of the North, who Dorothy meets at the beginning of the book and gives her the magic shoes, unaware of her powers since she isn't a powerful witch, the Queen of the Field Mice, who helps Dorothy and her friends in the poppy field, and last but not least, Gwenda, the Good Witch of the South, a wise and ancient witch with a youthful look who Dorothy meets at the end of the book who tells her about the power of the shoes. These three separate characters were combined into a single character in the movie, turning Glinda into a rather annoying Deus Ex Machina who helps Dorothy whenever she's in trouble, not giving her a chance to really get out of herself and appears out of nowhere. However, there was a reason for combining these characters and turning Glinda into an irritating character in my opinion, and that reason is actually linked to number 4, cutting out the trip to the South. This is a pretty big one. The movie essentially only covers about 3/4 of the book, the main mission being the journey to meet Glinda, which was likely cut for pacing reasons, which could explain why many future adaptations didn't really touch it either. This section starts after Oz's balloon takes off without Dorothy and she and her friends go to the Quadling country to the south to see if the witch who rules there can help her, encountering many things such as the fighting trees, a country where everything is made of china, and the Hill of Hammerheads before meeting Glinda, where she tells Dorothy that her magic shoes can get her home. Of all the challenges in the trip to the south, the only one that kinda made its way into the movie are the fighting trees, which are encountered much earlier on. Because of the aforementioned pacing reasons, most adaptations of The Wizard of Oz don't touch the trip to the south, which is a shame to me since some of my favorite parts of the book take place in that part, such as the China Country, and the only big Oz film to touch it is 2013's Oz the Great and Powerful, which didn't do anything in the Oz world justice. Next up is number 3, the Silver Shoes / Ruby Slippers. Perhaps one of the most well-known differences between the book and the movie. The shoes of the Wicked Witch of the East that Dorothy receives from the Good Witch of the North were known as the Silver Shoes in the book, and from what I understand, they're changed to ruby in the film to show off the Technicolor technology. That's not the only difference, though. In the movie, the Wicked Witch of the West states that the ruby slippers will never come off as long as Dorothy's alive, which isn't the case in the book since Dorothy takes them off several times, and the witch even causes her a trip which makes one of the shoes fall off, angering the girl and leading to the witch's death. Not to mention that they fall off during Dorothy's trip home and are lost forever within the desert surrounding Oz. While we're on the subject of the witch, number 2, the role of the Wicked Witch of the West. The Wicked Witch of the West has a pretty active role in the movie and a strong presence, which is surprising since she only has about 12 minutes of screen time. That does speak volumes about the power of Margaret Hamilton's performance, but I digress. This is probably one of the main reasons why she's such a popular character, with a few different origin stories made over the years, and is considered the most powerful and vile of the Witches of Oz, and as a primary antagonist of the Oz people in certain adaptations. That popularity certainly didn't come from the book, where her presence wasn't nearly as big, and certainly wasn't big enough to be considered a primary villain in the book. She was mentioned a few times in the book, and built up as a great threat, but she only appears in one chapter, which is literally right in the middle of the book, and is only one of many challenges Dorothy faces in her first adventure in Oz. After her death, she's rarely mentioned except in passing, though if there's one character in the original book series who can be considered a primary antagonist, it's the Gnome King, not one of the witches. In fact, of all the evil witches in the book, it's the East Witch who was probably the most vile, if only for what she did to the Tin Woodman. And finally we have number 1, Oz being a dream. All of the other changes so far have nothing on this one. We all know the ending of the movie where it's revealed that the whole thing was a dream, with the characters of Oz being representations of characters in Dorothy's own life. That's not the case in the book. There, Oz is a real place that the tornado actually took Dorothy to, and her in the house, and her uncle had to build a new house as a result while she was away. Not only that, she made many more trips there in the sequels through various means, and eventually moved to Oz permanently and became a princess, bringing along her aunt and uncle after they couldn't pay their mortgage on the new house due to her uncle's health issues. Making Oz a dream world is something that always baffled me. I guess they were either going for an Alice in Wonderland vibe, or people in the 30s didn't like the idea of a fantasy world. Either way, it's still a drastic change, and the one major difference between the book and the movie that stands above the others, which made it next to impossible to make any direct sequels to this movie, though they did do just that many years later with Journey Back to Oz, a direct sequel to the 1939 classic that is a very loose adaptation of Baum's second book that isn't very good. I'll be getting to that film at some point, trust me on that one. But for now, That's all the differences between the Wizard of Oz book and movie that I can think of. Great! You survived all the way to the end! I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like and click that subscribe button in the corner to stay up to date with the latest videos. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with the latest on videos and other projects. While you're at it, here are some other videos you might enjoy. Until next time!